Okay, that was Mob Psycho, Season 3, Episode 5. This show is hard for me to watch.
It gets you feeling so unsettled or so low or so sad or so emotional, and then you just get this funny little monkey sound, and you're like, where do my emotions go?
That makes me sadder. It doesn't even make me laugh. I think it's, funny, sure, but, it makes me sad. I think it was made obvious, but from very early on in the episode, I felt as I was Mob. And I felt that last episode, I felt like Dimple, there's no reason that makes sense to us that he'd do this. It's not in his character. Mm-hmm. And Mob saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether Dimple thinks he's doing something for himself or Mob, but it's not face value. And that's why this show is the amazing show that it is, because they very rarely go face value when it matters in an emotional way. And I think that how they ended the episode with the face value shock of the shirt, just went to compliment the severity of the relationship that's at risk here, because it's something that's very real and that we've seen grow and we've from the beginning of the series. And it's not something that can just take an easy turn of, oh, he's a god, that's what he wanted all the time, he's evil now, so is Teru, he's evil that it's never been that show, and Mob knew that.
Mob always seems to, in the moments where a character is acting in a way that the viewer is now confused why they're acting that way, are the moments that Mob can judge them critically and observe how they're actually feeling. Yes, he gets swept away when he's not really paying attention by, all these girls are talking to me now. But when it really truly matters, and it's a point like with Ritsu, where we as a viewer were like, wait, does Ritsu actually not like Mob?
Yeah.
And I remember us feeling like, wait, what? But Mob was steadfast, being like, you're lying, this isn't true. And this is the same thing here. He was like, I wrote down that Mob said just a little more and I would have lost all my faith in you.
Yeah. Before I lose it, I want to say this episode and the past episode, it makes me feel like it's been directed by Dimple, and they're trying to make me feel like I'm Kageyama, I'm Mob, and they're trying to convince me that this is real, and Dimple's trying to convince me that this is actually happening. And sidebar, this isn't the case, but I am at the point of just how in love I am with the show, that the reason that they drew green outlines from the beginning of the season on characters was just the green aesthetic of the broccoli putting into characters to convince me that Dimple's evil, but he's not, because I don't know.
There's so much care he has for Mob. This whole time, he is still hoping that Mob will just decide to go along with this plan. He doesn't want to have to fight Mob. Yes, that's probably because he's scared of Mob or doesn't think he could necessarily win. But he also doesn't want to kill Mob and doesn't want to hurt Mob himself that bad, so severely.
Yeah.
He wants Mob to just live happily. I think he phrased it as he wanted to just have fun together.
Yeah.
And
it screams that this is something Dimple doesn't want to do when Dimple won't show it, talk to him face to face. And then, it's very apparent that Mob, he said it himself, Mob's I'm doing a pretty good job at restraining myself right now. And I'm left with two theories, okay? Because there was so much that, obviously, so many parallels to season 1, episode 3. The biggest one being that of Tsubomi, which I definitely want to talk about Tsubomi a little bit. But with Tsubomi specifically, the whole instance of get a clue was the trigger that set off what we know as 100% in Mob Psycho, and that was episode 3, where Dimple said, get a clue, and that reminded Mob of Tsubomi as a child saying, get a clue, and Mob retorted, just saying, I'm so glad the person or the thing that said something as awful as get a clue to me wasn't a human. Dimple did everything that he possibly could to get Mob to explode. And I'm either thinking it has to be Dimple wants to die or wants
to be stopped,
or there actually is something inside Mob that is the question marks that Dimple's trying to get to come out for some reason.
Does Dimple have some other motive like that, goal like that?
This show is not one that often just doesn't make sense and there's no motive. There has to be a reason Dimple's doing this.
Like, Dimple's acting as if Mob is just so easily manipulated now. The Mob we know now, season 3 Mob, is not as easily manipulated as season 1 Mob.
Yeah.
And to say, oh, well, you could have Tsupomi, but she wouldn't want to be with you normally because of how independent she is. There's nothing you could give her, basically, is what he was saying. But you could have her if you led this religion with me, basically. And I'm like, all of that sounds so empty and dumb and stupid. And Mob kept saying, this is stupid, this is stupid. I'm like, yeah, everything you're saying to try to convince him is stuff he does that no longer works on him. It hasn't worked on him for a while now in this show.
Yeah. So the assumption being the strong faith of nearby surroundings was the thing that affected Reagan and was the thing that affected him.
Probably
right?
Tsubomi too. I would
well,
say
that's
Reagan
what I was going to connect it to. I brought it up to say if that happened to Reagan, then that's probably what happened to Tsubomi, right? Because obviously Tsubomi made a very grand effort of avoiding.
But Teru's a question mark for me on that. I still feel like Teru's the type who would purposefully do things in order to get an outcome that he wants, whether that's to trigger Mob even more into fighting Dimple and not being... Because if Teru hadn't instigated more of a fight here, Mob might have underestimated Dimple's power more, or maybe not been so quick to fight him. So maybe Teru was playing there.
I disagree. I think
I was saying I believe that.
I think that it was like Dimple telling Mob that it was Teru's own thoughts just to try to hit it home harder to make Mob be like, why are you controlling him and lying to me about controlling him? Like, it's Dimple trying to get a rise out of Mob again. And I think that you're right. Like, that totally could be a possible thing that Teru would do so that Mob would explode further so that he wouldn't underestimate Dimple. But
or go easy on him.
It's very interesting that Dimple... God, I need to know why. I'm so excited to learn why.
I'm just still, like, wanting to know exactly. Obviously I want to know why for everything, but I think the Teru stuff is big question marks for me still. Just with the facial expression we got from Teru as he was blasted out of the broccoli.
Yeah.
Seemed like he was like, yes, what I wanted to happen happened, or something like that.
Well, and his lines, like, that were said, yeah. And it could be it. And his lines very well back up your point of he was just doing this whole thing so Mob would explode him out.
And I think Dimple would have been dumb enough to believe that Teru was, Teru's just doing this because he wants to and he wanted my power.
For sure.
But that means Teru convinced Dimple, if that's the case, Teru got power from Dimple and convinced Dimple that he was on his side.
Yeah.
That's something so Teru.
I do think the art of Teru being blasted out of Dimple,
like Team Rocket style.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. And it could even have been just the illusion breaking away to show him. I don't know. And also him going into the sky really mirrored his realization in episode 5 when he did the same thing in the fight against Mob, or more precisely the fight against the question marks.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we got a pretty good explanation of what that is earlier, but there's obviously still that. Like right now, I thought that we were done with it, like period, and completed what the question marks were at the end of the fight halfway through season 2 versus what's his name, Mogami. I thought that like the whole just intenseness of his emotions and kind of complexity of it could be an answer for it, but the whole question of Dimple's reasoning, like it makes too much sense for me to not say it has to be something we don't know yet. I think, or
to have that and also partnered with such comedic kind of him being like tossed around and smacked around, but that ending there, I'm like, it couldn't just be Dimple was like, oh, maybe Mob will be easily manipulated and be my friend forever in this evil plan that I have. Like, that just seems so stupid.
Yeah.
I guess, for Dimple. I'm using Mob's words. Like, silly, stupid. Come on, Dimple. It's not like Mob's gonna be that easily manipulated.
Before this episode started, I was banking on it being a conclusion of Dimple even crying and being like, everybody has something. I'm just a spirit, you know, and it coming to, and that could still very well be the case. But the reason I'm leaning towards something else is because, oh my God, how heavy each percentage was. It got to a point in this episode where I was like, please don't show me another percentage. Like, please don't. And it's something that I wanted so bad when the series started. And just to like, at this point, like, I'm like, don't do it. Like, it's like Dimple's trying to get that percentage up, man. He's just, like,
it felt
he's
like
fighting for it.
If that inch effect, I feel like I haven't felt that since that first episode where we didn't know what was happening, but he was slowly climbing to 100 as he was fighting all of these different things. So purposeful, just the inch by inch kind of climb that was happening this episode with the percentage.
So to try to understand, like, okay, if I'm trying to think if it's something else, like percentage, whatever, the only way that we've seen that work is unconsciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did we see it in episode 5 of season 2 when he was in the big fight? I don't know if we saw the question marks there because he turned into handsome Mob, and then after that we saw like the
he doesn't completely lose control, I don't think.
But we did see it obviously alluded to in the flashback with Ritsu as well as the fight with Teru. And Dimple, I don't think Dimple knows that it exists when Mob loses consciousness because I don't think he's ever been there to witness it. So then I'm like, how would Dimple know something else like is wrong with him or something's inside with him or inside of him?
Or is he hoping that comes out so that's the power that he can also steal? Because he's zapping and stealing Mob's power. So what if he's trying to get even whatever that mystery thing is out so that he could also take that power as well? That would be like an evil motive.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're and that's the best evil motive, but I'm just in complete denial, if I'm honest, that it would be an evil motive. It's really hard for me to believe right now, and fucking next episode it's gonna open up and I'm gonna be completely wrong and Dimple had that turn and it's gonna be great, but I just, it's hard for me to believe right now.
Because for the show, what we've been taught with this show is that by the end of this battle, Dimple is just gonna be a little wisp talking to Mob in his bedroom. In my heart from watching this show, that's how I feel, that they're just gonna go home at night and be ready for bed, have brushed their teeth, and Dimple's just gonna be his little green mist of a self talking to Mob, you know, as Mob's getting ready for bed. I just feel like that is the ending, because that is what I've been told by this show is the ending for villains and big fights, is that some amount of good comes of it, some amount of forgiveness or being brought back down, calmed down.
Yeah. I just get sad. I get sad for these characters that I get chills for these characters. I get like, I don't know. What do you think about the ending though? The shirt.
The shirt part made me feel like, again, that Teru was doing very purposeful things this whole time. Because I think I said that I wasn't sure when the events happened and when we saw them. Was that the true timeline of like when Teru helped Mob pick out this shirt?
Do you think
Did he pick this shirt out on purpose because he knew Dimple was the villain already? Like, I don't know. Like, there could be so much that he could have actually like planned something like this happening as like this is the last ditch like idea for stopping Dimple is put Mob
the failsafe
in a shirt that Dimple will be like, why are you wearing that shirt?
Break shirt in case of emergency.
Yeah.
But I think I'm looking at it like, what's the 100%, right? Like I meant like 100% like embarrassment like because of the shirt, 100% relief because you can see that Dimple still cares about you, and he
still has faith in Dimple. In this moment, he said that Dimple has not done enough to make him completely lose faith. But honestly, if Teru really did do this like purposefully, he was really smart about it, because what if he could also have been like, okay, so if Mob is like, teetering on the edge of going full powerful, we need an emotion that'll just strike him right in the heart. Being told he's lame because of shirt he's been wearing all around town. Everyone has seen him in it, and no one has told him that he's lame.
I don't know where we're gonna go. I'm just kind of you know what sucks? We can't just watch the next episode. This has never happened really. Like before the season started.
Wait, look at my favorite visual then. So I think it might be. It was like when there was right there. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Like the painterly broccoli mob mouth, and mob is going into it.
Might be hard to pull up because streaming platform,
but you guys probably know what I'm talking about.
It's like the massive aura that is Dimple Mob, Broccoli Mob. That is the epitome of Broccoli Mob. It's all done very like artistically, like painterly.
That's like isn't that the outro? Is that the outro for season 2 or this outro that is the very kind of painterly?
This outro. But speaking of that, we also got a visual that was people surrounding Broccoli, which I'm pretty sure was from the first season, from the first intro. Crazy.
Yes, I think that is in the first
crazy
intro.
How like this show is nuts.
I know. I
want to rewatch the show so bad.
One of the things I wrote down during the episode is every villain is what Mob could become, but Dimple takes his likeness, pushing Mob fighting himself more and more as like an idea.
Yeah.
So definitely is a funny and almost like, if this is the last season, I think that maybe feels the best in terms of what type of comedy and also lightheartedness there has been with this show, is to go look at all these villains who were basically someone like you one day, and then they woke up the next day and chose this evil path that you could choose, and they were also very strong psychics. But then Dimple, we don't know what his human life was like. Was he always an evil spirit? And he takes it in a different way. He, instead of fighting Mob with the idea of Mob's future self, he's fighting Mob with these broccoli versions of Mob.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, visual.
Yeah, okay.
Good visual, though.
Yeah,
great.
I really just loved that whole, like, scene. It was so creative. I'm like, who thought to add this in?
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, you good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.
Everyone has seen him in it, and no one has told him that he's lame. Everyone has seen him in it, and no one has told him that he's lame. No one has told him that he's lame.
No one has told him that he's lame.